Hello and welcome to People Not Politics with candidate for mayor Gina Montoya Ortega. My name is Rusty Pierce and I'm hosting this episode of People Not Politics where we're discussing specifically politics today. How are you today, Gina?
Good, Rusty, thanks. How are you?
Good. So just before we get started a little bit, tell me a little bit about yourself and then we'll jump right into our episode of talking about politics.
Okay, my name is Gina Montoya Ortega and I'm running for mayor of Las Cruces. Mi nombre es Eugenia Montoya Ortega Gina y estoy corriendo por alcaldesa de la ciudad de Las Cruces. Soy dueña de La Fiesta Bakery. I am the owner of La Fiesta Bakery.
All right, so tell me a little bit about yourself, growing up, how many children you have, and so forth.
So like I said, my name is Gina Montoya Ortega. I was born and raised here in Las Cruces. I went to Booker T Elementary. It is now what it's called. It was just called Washington Elementary when I went there on Solano. And it's kind of neat. I have one of my signs there, and I think that's really neat, knowing that this is where I came from and this is where I have one of my signs. I went to Washington Elementary from kindergarten all the way through 6th grade. This is a very important time for me, as it is for all children. That helped build the foundation of the person that I am today. Most people you ask them today, do you remember the names of your teachers? I do. To me, Booker T. Washington or Washington Elementary was a family. We weren't just a place that we went and learned, but we were a family. These were our teachers that actually cared about us, just like all teachers. Teachers don't go into this field, because they expect the money because everybody knows that's not about the money. It's about you care about children and you have their best interests at heart. My kindergarten teacher was Rita Trevis. My 1st grade teacher was Miss McMullen. My 2nd grade teacher was Clara Lujan. My 3rd grade teacher was Hope Leyva. My 4th grade teacher was Mr. Corbett. My 5th grade teacher was Mrs. Williams, and my 6th grade teacher was Mr. Art Padilla. Now, even as an adult, there's at least 3 or 4 of those teachers that I see pretty regularly, and it's amazing that these are the people that helped me become the person that I am today. Middle school, there's a few teachers that I remember: Mrs. Snyder, Mr. Thorpe, Mr. Dynick. I wish I could remember all their names. High school, Mrs. Garcia, just many, Mrs. Storment, Senora Storment. These are people that have actually made a really big impact in my life. So born and raised in Las Cruces, and to still see these people and look at them and say, wow, thanks, it's the person that I am today is thanks to you, thanks to teachers.
Okay, and children, brothers and sisters?
Yes, so I'm the youngest of 6 children. My mom and dad were Agustina Soltero and Eugene Montoya. My mom was originally from Rincon, came to Las Cruces at the age of 7. My dad was Eugenio Montoya, came from Monticello to Las Cruces at the age of 19. I'm the youngest of 6 children. My both brothers, Robert and Richard Soltero, passed away. Robert passed away 11 years ago, and Richard passed away 8 years ago. I have 3 sisters still. My oldest sister is Teresa Moreno and her husband Billy. My sister after her is Rachel Mercedes and her husband Juan Luis. And my other sister is Emma Soltero. I also have 23 nieces and nephews and great nieces and nephews.
So you talked a little bit about your family. Why is that important to your run? How does it shape you, and how is it going to help you when you are mayor? Well,
born and raised here in Las Cruces, I've seen how Cruces has evolved. I've seen where we were, I've seen where we're going, and I don't like where I see that we're headed. Probably way back in the day, it could have always been better as well. But now, especially knowing and seeing, what's happening in our city, I think it's important that we have somebody that's born and raised here and has children that were born and raised here. I forgot to tell you that I do have 3 children. We have our oldest son. He's 36 years old, and he's been married to his wife for about 14 years. They have no children. They live in Colorado Springs. He went to the Air Force Academy, and he's never moved back to Cruces because there's nothing here for him. Our other daughter is Vanessa Holguin, and she's been married to her husband Mel for 10 years, and they have 2 beautiful grandbabies, Wednesday 6 and Chloe 2. Our youngest daughter, Jessie, she's working on her master's now at NMSU. She also does a lot of community theater, and she is single. So it's important. It's important that growing up here in Las Cruces that I care about my city. I care about my community. I care about children.
And so my understanding is that you've also been a small business owner of La Fiesta Bakery with your husband. Is that right?
Yes. Once again, I forgot about my poor husband. I've been married to Ray Ramon Ortega for 33 and a half years. We are co-owners of La Fiesta Bakery. The bakery temporarily is shut. We're hoping after the election we can get that open. Everybody that we talk to, they want to know, when are you going to open that bakery back up? You have the best donuts, you have the best empanadas, we really miss you. Well, it was just kind of difficult with that road destruction that happened in front of us to continue. So it just made more sense, because this was actually thrown in our laps. It made sense just to continue to leave the bakery where it was, continue to pay rent until after the election, then we can figure out what we need to do.
Understood. So hopefully that's going to open back up in November, right?
God willing, yes.
Excellent. So the bakery, you said it closed because of road destruction. Was there any politics involved in that, do you think? Or was that just simply to put in a new road, new sewer lines, and so forth?
No, I'd definitely say that there was probably politics involved in it. It is a state highway. Valley Drive is a state road. So unfortunately, we can't just blame the state. It was a 50-50 deal between the state and the city brought nothing to the table. We had once a month meetings. It was a contractor, the state, and the city. And the residents, constituents, whoever wanted to attend these many business owners, we could go and voice our opinions. And the meetings were to tell us where the project was headed. Unfortunately, they turned into gripe sessions. People were complaining, you know, I used to be able to come to the bakery and get here and in and out in 5 minutes, and now it takes me 30 minutes. So definitely politics. It's politics when you actually have city government and or state government that make these decisions that affect us, citizens or business owners.
So the campaign slogan that you have is people, not politics. What does that mean to you and your campaign, and how will it affect the way you run as mayor?
Well, to me, it's definitely people, not politics. It should be about the people that live here in Las Cruces. A city is not a place, it's people. And we have a lot of needs as a city. We're the bottom of the line of everything, practically as a whole state. So I think we need to actually hear what people have to say. We have a lot of people that live here in Las Cruces, have a lot of great ideas, and we don't listen to them. For example, even the Valley Drive project. When we'd go to these meetings, I mean, we interacted with it every day. We would see that, why do we have this barrier up? We don't need it yet. You're not working there. You know, can you adjust those barriers? The lights, is there any way you can adjust the lights? And the contractors or the state had never even driven up and down that. The contractor, of course, he's there all the time, but the state, at one of the meetings, the supervisor, he said, oh yeah, I finally came, like 3 months into the project, he finally drove down Valley Drive because he had to get to the other side. And he's like, oh my gosh, it took me like almost a half an hour, 25 minutes to get from Picacho to Avenida Mesilla. And I'm like, yeah, you know, you guys are the ones making the decisions. You should be here every day. Yes, there's a lot of city workers. Those are the people that are actually doing the work. Well, they're there to just do their work. They're not there to, you know, to feel what a business owner or a resident felt like. We needed actually our local city government, we needed the state government, we needed people that could actually make the decisions, and the decisions that they were making, how they were impacting us, residents and businesses.
So in the answer, you just said that you needed more people to voice their opinions, that you wanted more people to show up, that the voices weren't being heard. How do you propose that we do that? My understanding is that roughly only 10%, a little less, voted in the last election. How do you reach that other 90% that doesn't show up or that doesn't participate? How do you get their voices to be heard?
So now as a candidate, I've been actually walking and knocking and talking to people. It's really funny because I'm not the politician, like I said before. I am a person running to be a public servant. And when I meet people that are driving in their driveway, you know, I hand them a door hanger and I'm like, I'm Gina, I'm running for mayor. And they look at me like they're ready to fall over out of their cars, like, you're actually walking? And I said, yeah, I don't expect you to do anything that I wouldn't do first. So, I mean, yes, it's great that we have teams. I do have a lot of people that are helping me do this. But at the same time, it's good to meet candidates. It's good to meet people that are actually going to vote for us. So I'm actually hoping that we can actually get the 68,000 that didn't vote the last election. The last election 4 years ago, there was about 78,000 eligible voters, and about 68,000 chose not to get out and vote. So when I was talking to people, and to hear people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s saying, nobody votes, I don't vote anymore, it doesn't matter, nobody listens, they do what they want. I'm really hoping that this election, people want their voices to be heard. You know what? There's a lot of candidates running. Listen to what everybody has to say, and give us your vote. I'm asking for them to give me their vote. But if I'm not the candidate of choice, you know what? Look and see. Don't be that squirrel that was caught in the middle of the road. Make a decision. Get out and let your voice be heard.
All right, so on your signs, you put the word Democrat, but then you also say people, not politics. So explain to me what that means and how that will affect your campaign.
So to me, like I said, I'm not a politician. To me, when I looked up the word politics, poly means many and ticks are bloodsuckers. I do not want to be a politician. I do not want to be a bloodsucker. I actually, and on my sign, I do have Democrat. The reason I put Democrat on there is because people would ask, what's your party affiliation? Well, I didn't realize, because unfortunately a lot of people, when you tell them what your party affiliation is, that determines whether or not they're going to vote for you. I'm not a politician. I don't look at, the name on your sign or who I'm going to vote for. I'd like to meet the person or meet somebody that has actually talked to them or knows a little bit about them, and make a decision on a candidate, not because of what's on your sign. On my sign, so this time I chose that I'm going to go ahead and put Democrat, because I have nothing to hide. I am a registered Democrat. So that's why I chose to put that on my sign. But it's not about politics. It's not about, I'm the Democrat. I'm a person. I'm a regular small business owner. Look at me as a person and see if I can be the candidate that can help you make your city the best it can be, our city.
So the Democratic Party of New Mexico has passed its platform with 91% approval rating from the Democrats that voted on that. Does that mean that you agree with every single thing that the Democrats support?
I don't. Like I said, because I'm not a politician, I'm just a regular person. I'm a regular small business owner. And I don't think it's not about the politics. It's about what's right. So do I agree 100% with the Democrats? I don't. Do I agree 100% with Republicans? I don't. I'm the candidate that wants to look at everything and bring both parties together, and let's move this city forward. I think this, as a nation, as a state, we have become about either you're red or you're blue. We talked about it before. We tell gang members all the time, leave your colors at the door. Well, I want those politicians, let's leave your colors at the door. It doesn't matter if you're red. It doesn't matter if you're blue. Let's come together and let's move this city forward. I think when we leave our colors aside, we will be able to move the city in the right direction.
So you said that you've been talking to people, and one of the things that I asked you was how are we going to get more people to the ballot box? How are we going to get more people to voice their opinions? So you said that you've been knocking on doors and talking to people, but there's no way possible you could reach those 68,000 people. What other ways could we reach those people?
When I talk to somebody, I'm asking them, everybody that let's get them out there. The people that are also canvassing with us, we're talking to everybody. Get everybody that out to vote. Are you happy with your city? No. Well, you know what? We can make a difference. We just need to get out there and utilize our vote as our voice.
And what about city council meetings? Should they always be at the same time? Should we alternate those? Should we test out a different time?
So I brought up that I would like to see city council meetings brought up in that one meeting a month in the evening, one in the morning and one in the evening. Right now, city council meetings are held Mondays at 1 o'clock. Well, where are most people Monday at 1 o'clock? Everybody that I've talked to, they're like, I'm at work. I would love to go hear what they have to say, or I would love to go give my opinion, and I cannot do that because I'm at work. So I believe that if we had a meeting in the evening, so those people that do work would come to the meetings and be able to give their opinion, or maybe a person that's at work might happen to be at lunch time at 1 o'clock. You can live stream the city council meetings. So it'd be nice, with all the technology that we have nowadays, why aren't people eligible to call in or send an email with their question? We need to get more people involved. We need to actually hear what people have to say and actually start doing maybe what the people of Las Cruces want.
I like that idea. We do have a lot of technology in this world. We have computers everywhere, iPads, people walk around with their cell phones all day long. It would be really easy to send a text or to send an email so that they could ask a question. I really like that idea. Are other candidates that you've seen knocking on doors and stuff as well?
I personally have not seen any candidates. I have not had any candidate come to my front door either. I've seen signs for other candidates as I'm walking, not a whole lot of them. But I'm really curious. I really wish that I could ask that person, do you personally know this candidate, or did the candidate actually come and even talk to you? I'm curious because I think it's important that if you are a candidate, you need to interact with people. And I've met people that, they tell me they're supporting another candidate, and I respect that. I think that's great. I think that's a nice thing about democracy. But, I want people to know that, I will be the full-time mayor. I do want to hear what people have to say. Because everybody does matter. What everybody has to say, we don't have to agree. We're not going to agree with everybody, but we can agree to disagree. That's a part of being an adult. You can sit there and actually hear what people have to say, because there are a lot of people who have really great ideas, but we don't want to hear what they have to say.
We're going to take a quick break here in just a minute, and we'll come back and talk a little bit more about politics.
so great and do all these different years in the clan.
Okay.
Nice.
Some of the guys, not all, but
Horizon Granite is here. We'll come to you to customize your kitchen and bathroom with beautiful countertops and cabinets. Find out more at horizongranite.com. Call us at 575-650-3180.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here.
Make yourself a beautiful home.
Hi, I'm Ray Bamberg with Here on Earth. I would like to invite you for a free hearing evaluation to our office. We've been here in southern New Mexico for 34 years helping people hear better.
Hello and welcome back to People Not Politics with Gina Montoya Ortega, a candidate for Las Cruces mayor. Today we're talking about politics and how it affects our local city government. So Gina, you mentioned that you were a Democrat. Have you always been a Democrat, or is this something that you change on a regular basis?
No, I've always been a Democrat. When I first went to register to vote, I registered as a Democrat. My mother was a Democrat. My father at one time was a Republican, became a Democrat. But at the same time, I think, too, he also saw that, neither one of the parties is what it used to be. So, yes, I have always been a Democrat.
And your candidates, are you running against all Democrats or all Republicans? Is there a mix?
Right now, as far as I understand, there is a mix of candidates. There were some people, I guess, that were one party and switched. There's been people that have had name changes and just a lot of, I guess, that's politics, I guess, is when you start switching stuff. And in talking to people, they'll be like, well, a lot of the things that you have to say, it's a Republican value. You should become a Republican. And I'm like, I'm not going to switch my party affiliation because I'm not a politician. I just happen to be registered as a Democrat. I want to hear what both have to say, whether I agree that yes, because if the Republicans, if that's what I sound like a Republican sounds like, and then like I said, I don't agree with both sides 100%.
So let's talk about a subject can be a little touchy, and that is the Stone Garden funds. That money is given from the national level to local municipalities to use for drug interdiction and other things. The Democrats, on average, not every single one, but Democrats on average are against taking Stone Garden money. The Republicans, on the other hand, on average, again, are for taking that Stone Garden money. So do you see politics being played in our local city council when they chose not to accept the money from Stone Garden, but then fund the police department with additional funds? What they did was they did not take the Stone Garden money, and then literally that same day voted to go ahead and increase the budget for the police department by equal amounts. So do you see politics in that?
Definitely, and like you said, that one party tends to lean more in favor of it, another party tends to lean against it. When I first heard about Stone Garden money, it was probably last year, I guess, or the year before. And from what I understood, it was, I guess, a typical, a Democrat that feels like this is blood money, this is money that they're using to racially profile people, for a police officer to stop a person just because of the way that they look or maybe by the vehicle that they drive.
And so, just 1 second on that. The police officers, the law enforcement agencies were being accused of essentially pulling people over, stop and ID.
Yes.
Was there any evidence of that? How many cases did anybody put forward that saying this is exactly what they did? They pulled me over, they checked my ID and my immigration status. Did they ever have any evidence?
As far as I know, that I never did see any of that. And I had went and I spoke at county commission. That's when I first heard about Stone Garden.
Sure.
And so I actually went, and of course, the information that I'm hearing is, I'm a woman of color, and to hear that, people are getting pulled over just because they look like me, because the color of their skin is brown, I thought, well, hey, why are you racially profiling people? So I spoke up against it. If this is money that we're using to do this, I'm against it. We should not be pulling over people because of the color of their skin. I met a gentleman just the other night, and this is a man that's Hispanic, lives in Texas, has a very heavy Texas accent, and he said that he went to Oklahoma, and they told him, you need to go back to where you came from. And he's like, what do you mean? And this was actually at the base, and he's like, I served this country. I served to give you these rights. And you're telling me to go back to it just because of the color of his skin. So I do not agree that we should be pulling anybody over by the color of their skin. So to say, do I know of any police officer or sheriff locally here in Doñana County or Las Cruces that has done that? No, I have never heard that. So then now that we know a little bit more about the Stone Garden money, that we heard that that's not what it's used for. It can be used for humanitarian aid. It could be used for the police department to help. I did hear that they were talking about that they were using it to help the drug enforcement. So that's money. If that's money that's going to help keep a city safe by getting the drugs off the street, I'm for it. So now that I know that this money is not being used to racially profile people, it's actually being used or can be used to help curb, the drug problem that we're having in Las Cruces, the opioid crisis. I think it's money that we should have taken if it can be used for humanitarian aid and not to be used to racially profile or pull somebody over. It's against the law to do that.
To me, that exemplifies people, not politics.
Yes.
Clearly, you don't stand with the Democrats on that one, but you did your research. You found out that law enforcement cannot pull people over based on the skin color, and if they do, that's illegal no matter what money it's being used with. It could be regular funds, it could be Stone Garden money. If they pull people over and it's illegal no matter what funds they're doing it with. So I do like that. Another thing that we talk about oftentimes is minimum wage. Again, Democrats are generally for a minimum wage increase. Republicans are generally against a minimum wage increase, rather let the private environment, the private market, figure out a way to get those jobs into Las Cruces and then have them a higher pay rate. So the minimum wage increase that was fairly recent to, I believe, $10.10 an hour, was that something that you supported? And if so, why or why not?
So I ran for mayor 4 years ago, and when I ran, that was going to be the first implementation. That following January was going to be the first minimum wage increase. From a standpoint that I could see, not only as a business owner, but just a person that common sense, that didn't make sense to me. I'm like, we're already in trouble. There's not enough jobs. People are struggling to make ends meet. And as a small business owner, knowing that this would possibly impact us, we didn't have the 5 employees that we did now towards the end. But I just thought, as a business owner, how are you going to do that? As a small business owner, you don't have help. You don't have other chains that are supporting you. It's you yourself, and that's it. There's nobody to help you if you go down, if your sales aren't there. So I was like, how can we look at raising the minimum wage knowing that we're already suffering and struggling? So when I was running for mayor, I would talk to people that would come into the bakery asking them, what do you think about the minimum wage? And they were excited. And I was like, why? Make me understand. Tell me why. Well, more money, I'm going to be able to do more things. And so hearing what they had to say, I thought, oh, okay. So when I actually told them, I said, can I just tell you my opinion? And then I would share it. It's not going to help you. I don't believe this is really going to help you. Where do you work? Some of them were working 3 jobs. Some of them were working 2 jobs. They were with small businesses. I said, okay, and one of the jobs that they had was actually part with a chain and small business. I said, unfortunately, what I see is going to happen is your hours are going to get cut, or you're going to lose some of your jobs. Personally, if I had the employees, the 5 that we had now towards the end, that first minimum wage increase, we would have had to cut hours. We would have had to gone back to, it's just me and my husband working, and my sister-in-law that would come volunteer and help us on the weekend, and our 1 donut fryer. So I opposed it only because just looking at it and doing the math, it didn't make sense. So unfortunately, I would have been against it, where my party would have been in favor. But like I said, I wasn't trying to be ugly. I know people are struggling. I know that people need money. But to me, increasing it was not the solution. Sure enough, after the first phase, talking to these young people again, I said, what happened? And they said their hours had gotten cut. One of them lost one of their jobs. I said, so how did we help you? And they were like, you didn't. I'm in worse shape than I was at the beginning.
So I oftentimes hear, when we're out knocking on doors and talking to people, they think that small business owners are filthy rich. and that they have plenty of money. And many of the times I hear, oh, well, we should raise the minimum wage. We should raise the minimum wage. The business owners, they can afford it. They have plenty of money. They have plenty of money. Are you rich?
No. And, that's really funny. I mean, just owning a business, people just assume that you're rich, I'm like, no, we're trying to make a living just like everybody else. My husband had worked for chain grocery stores before, and that was his dream, was for him to work for himself. He said, if I'm going to kill myself, I'm going to kill myself for me and my family. I'm not going to kill myself for the chain store that I'm working. Chain store took advantage of him. They wanted him to work. I mean, as it was, he was already working 6, almost 7 days a week, more than 12 or 13 hours a day. He's like, this is ridiculous. Why am I making money for somebody that doesn't appreciate him? So he thought he would like to own his own business. So that's why we went into business for ourselves. But by no means, no. I mean, I'm not rich, but a lot of people think, oh, you work for yourself, you have a lot of money, you're rich, you can afford. No, I mean, we would see our customers and they'd come in nicer vehicles and look their hair nicer and their nails done, and we couldn't even afford to barely go get a haircut, So no, I'm not rich, by no means.
Well, we've only got a couple minutes, so as we wrap up, I want to ask you about another thing. We've got a current mayor who has been in office for a while. I would find it difficult to call him anything other than a career politician. Do you support term limits for mayor, even if you get elected?
I do. I was asked this question 4 years ago when I ran, and to me, term limits, like everything else, it's got its pros and it's got its cons. The bad thing about term limits is, say you actually have a candidate that's just doing the best job ever, which we really haven't seen any candidate do this, then you're actually going to cut their legs off. So that's why the thing about term limits. But yet, term limits are good because, it gives somebody the opportunity to come in with a fresh, clear mind, new ideas, willing to think outside the box. So I would be in favor of term limits because, so there's a term limit. So say the mayoralship had an 8-year term limit, 2 terms. Okay, after 8 years, if I'm not doing a good job, that's good. Another person can come in and bring their ideas. But if I did such a wonderful job, then I can still run 4 years later. But we will have 4 years of actually looking at this other candidate and saying, hey, see what they do. But I think most people that are running, why not? Let's give them a chance. Let's give somebody a new chance.
So accountability, since we have all of our city councilors currently are under term limits. Well, they're not termed out yet, but they have a term limit for the city councilors. We don't have one for mayor. I can't help but wonder if that's a little bit of politics as well.
I would have to agree with you there. Because we do have term limits on our city council, but the mayoralship does not have term limits.
All right, well, we've got a few seconds left. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we go?
Like I said, my name is Gina Montoya Ortega, and I'm a candidate for Las Cruces mayor. And I'm asking those 68,000, along with the 10,000 that did get out and vote, is, you know what? Let your voices be heard. Your voice and your vote does matter. Please get out and vote. There's many people running. I'm sure somebody there, it can be the candidate of choice. I'm hoping that I will be your candidate of choice. So please get out, use your voice, use your vote, get out and vote. Don't be that squirrel that's caught in the middle of the road. Make a decision to help move our city forward.
All right, thank you for watching People Not Politics. Again, my name is Rusty Pierce, and you're here with Gina Montoya Ortega. Thank you.
Ortega, and I approve this message. Vivian Fritz, Treasurer.